Welcome to The Village Lantern, a podcast for families living with hidden challenges such as autism and other neurodiverse conditions, and for anyone else wanting to understand, love and support. Our mission is to build understanding, empathy and love for families living with one or more children who have hidden conditions that make life harder one way or another. We call this extra zing.
You can say, I respect, I'm grateful, I can see the work you've done, it's amazing. If I can't show up, that doesn't mean that I don't feel those things, but I'm also letting you know that if I can't do it or if it doesn't go well, if we have to bolt out the door, that's just who we are. Not I'm sorry, because you don't have to be sorry. I think that's really relieves the pressure when you walk in, thinking, will I take my shoes off? Probably not, they're probably about to leave, right? But everyone else can go, cool, no worries, got it. Thank you for coming, thanks for the effort, go.
In the spirit of reconciliation, Takes a Village acknowledges the traditional custodians of country here on the lands of the Boon Wurrung and Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation, as well as throughout Australia, and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
G'day.
Hi.
Hi.
31 degrees outside.
Yeah, I know.
Hot.
Don't rub it in for our UK
no, I'm
listeners.
sorry.
And it's my mid-November breakdown month.
Yeah, right, because it's getting close to the end.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but my kids are so tired by this time of year. They just, like we all are. I mean, I used to describe it as dragging ourselves across the finish line every year, like literally with your fingernails, like just trying to edge yourself along. Yeah. And that's now, I mean, I didn't even realise until it got hot, and then tomorrow it'll be cold because that's Melbourne, but summer's coming. And that is for many people exciting.
Yeah.
You know, great, school's finishing, long break.
6 weeks of no structure.
Relax with our family and friends.
And in England, even if it's not summer and winter, but there's still this idea of families getting together, having a break, having a Christmas holiday, getting everyone, end of the year, parties, school
events,
productions.
concerts.
Functions, end of year concerts.
Yeah. Expectations. And I think I mentioned to you guys recently that Christmas in our family, or whatever it is for your family, I mean, it seems like a nice thing. We don't, our family mostly gets along pretty well. It's quite big, but my mum loves to plan, and she loves to know what's happening. And because the kids are in different places, my brother lives overseas, so often around July, I get a phone call, sometimes earlier. What are you guys doing for Christmas? And I honestly, I feel like she's speaking to me in another language, because it's like, I'm so shocked by the question, shocked by the reminder that it's, oh God, it's going to happen again. But also the idea that how could I possibly have any idea what she means is, which house are we going to? Which family member is going to be there? Is it going to be lunch or dinner? And I'm like,
You don't know what the mental health of your family will be.
I don't even know my name.
That makes me so stressed.
So stressed.
I get that as well from my mother-in-law, but it's often about what do the kids want and what will they want? What time do you want to arrive?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean it's July?
I know. And do you know what I've started to be able to do? It's taken me a long time. Is now I can say, I am not able to make any commitments. So you guys go and make whatever plan works for you. And if we can come, or if we can make it, one of us, two of us, four of us, I don't know, we will just follow along. Because I don't want to be involved in any of the negotiation about planning. Because that's really stressful to me too. Yeah. The idea of, well, hang on, you've got this, but this will be this, and that'll take, to get here and there. I can't do any of that. My brain does not work like that. But also, I don't know what state my family's going to be in that morning.
Yes, exactly.
Or that week.
And we should talk a little bit as well about, do you feel like in your life things have turned out how you imagined when you were young, that you would, when you have children, you'd have Christmas, it would be like a big family thing, and maybe you cook and everyone would come to you. Have you got that? Do you feel sad that you won't ever have that because you're not really in that kind of headspace at the moment to, get everyone around yours?
It's a really interesting question, because I mean, the way my brain works and my memory works in many ways is quite good, because I don't have a vision for things. Yeah. Because I've forgotten what happens. Like every year, even the same thing happens.
That's the perimenopause.
Well, I think it's the ADHD. But and I also don't think that I I think I do have expectations based on my upbringing, but I also don't lament that. And that may be because I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
So it's not like I wish that we could have this great event where everyone's like bringing a salad or whatever, because all I want to do is just like lie in bed. And so it's probably a bit of low level ongoing depression that's also in there.
But it's an interesting question.
Your meds at Christmas.
Yeah, maybe. But I think also I have just given up. I almost have let go of all expectations.
Yeah.
So it sounds a bit sad. I don't mind it, but it does feel like everything's a bit hopeless.
If you are okay with it, then that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's we should really acknowledge that a lot of our listeners are in neurodivergent families where they're still struggling with the idea that things aren't how they thought it would be.
Totally.
And maybe they've got a child, maybe a bit like my eldest, he can't wait for those presents. Like that is just a big ask to go, right, write a Christmas list. It's like, here's things you really, 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 really want.
But I need them right now because I just wrote them down.
Have them now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, that's not how it works.
Yes.
And it's like, what do you mean? Well, who sets the rules? It's like some pretend guy in a bed. I hope no children listening. Oh God, I just blew Christmas.
Just outed it. You're right. And I think probably that I have gone through that. I think there were years of grief where I was trying to make it work the way maybe either I wanted it or the way my pet family wanted it or where other people wanted it. So for sure there are years and years where we try and show up, and do the things that maybe we did when we were young and what everyone expects. And it was just a disaster every time.
The amazing thing that I've worked out is if you can talk to your child about what they need, it really helps. So I know through some families they say, would you like the presents wrapped or unwrapped?
Oh, right, yeah.
And some kids are like, I just don't want to have them wrapped.
It's too stressful.
Even if you don't have to have, some kids are fine with not having them straight away, but they have to be on the shelf and they're not wrapped or they're under the tree unwrapped. They know what they're getting. There's no surprise, and that's good because they don't want surprises. Surprise is bad.
It's like, Bel, what you were saying before about the meal, like Christmas.
Oh, yeah. And you were going to chat about this, so I asked my 15-year-old what they don't like about Christmas because we celebrate Christmas.
And your 15-year-old's autistic.
Autistic 15-year-old, And they also asked two of their autistic friends, and there was a list of huge amount of things like there's too much sensory input and overload in Christmas Day. Their expectations were too much. They're deeply, deeply exhausted by the end of the year, and then they have to mask with like Auntie Joan and great uncle whoever, and they've got to put expected to sit at the table. Small talk, have to sit at a table.
Yes.
Have to eat at a certain time.
And the food takes ages because it's always late.
And the food, if you celebrate Christmas and you might have traditional food, it might be ham and seafood, and they're like autistic no-goes in our house. Not their thing. And I think last year was probably the most successful, inverted commas, Christmas because we had two teenagers that just didn't come out of their rooms.
Yeah. And how did the grandparents go with that? Were there people saying, get them out here, this is Christmas, it needs to be like
I think a few years ago they would have, but I think now there's an acceptance that there's a range of brains and a range of people that are coping and not coping and deeply exhausted and completely burnt out. And so we just went and put food in their rooms and just
And
kept
how
chatting.
gold is that? Because then you potentially can enjoy that hour without trying to make it better for them or consciously looking over down there eating, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'll bring sausage rolls next time, sort of thing.
I mean, sitting and eating at a table, that's a biggie for an autistic.
Yeah.
We high five in our house if we sit at the table like once or twice a week. We're like, woo!
Yeah. And people don't realise that. And especially if you're going to family who aren't really aware, they're not very neuro kind of fluent in the kind
fluent,
of
I like that.
Neuro-fluent.
Yeah.
They're not really getting it.
Fluent.
So they might be like, why are they not sitting at the table? Why are they not holding their fork properly? Why are they not using a napkin? Why are they sitting? Why are they eating with their hands?
Why are they rubbing tomato sauce all over their face?
And you just want to go, who cares? Like, let them. They need to do that, or that's how they eat.
Yeah.
That's what makes them feel good.
But I think you said this now my brain's exploding, Char, when you've said this, it might have just been 5 minutes ago. It could have been 7 months ago, about that idea of the more you understand. And Bel, you did it by asking your kids, what is it that's hard? That's that Ross Green goal about getting to the bottom of not just why are you doing that, but what is it that you
It's mining
need?
for information.
I thought that when my eldest was saying I hate Christmas, I thought it was just this annoying teenage thing. Like it actually wasn't until last year that I realised, there's particular things about a festival, like a festivity and family, extended family together that you don't like. I just thought it was like, oh, Christmas.
Yeah, and that's that, I think we talked about it last time, that idea of if you think about, let's say, a family Christmas event from the perspective of what is the sensory experience, there is so much in there. Not just sensory, but also social and communication. What's expected, and you have to interact with people, and there's certain rules about how you do that. And different
then you need
people,
emotional regulation.
Right.
Like
so
you've got to be calm. You've got to also don't get too excited.
Yeah.
We're meant to be excited.
Yeah. And then also, I mean, we've had times over different Christmases where, say, my sister's child got a gift that one of my kids really wanted.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God, we've had that too.
My God. And then
screaming, crying, storming
and
off.
Then, and then
guilt.
And then trying to get it, maybe trying to steal it. And then everyone just feels so uncomfortable because, things like that.
And you want to say, like, don't be so selfish, you asshole. But actually, you realise to the kid who's crying. But then you're like, they're just.
But if someone was looking in on your life, they would say, God, that's what a spoiled child, or why are those parents just pandering to that child? It's like, no, you don't understand. It's like it's torturing that child.
Yeah.
They feel really deep pain.
Deep visceral pain.
Visceral pain of the unfairness of that situation.
And surprises are not good, I think, for most autistic people. So if you're surprised that you're expecting something that you didn't get, and then you got a surprise.
Someone else's surprise that, so you might leave all your presents unwrapped, but no, we like to wrap our presents. That's what we do in our family. And we're all coming together, so we're bringing our wrapped presents. And then as they're unwrapped, there's like disaster, you know.
I've been told by my son now, like, we have a bit of a set routine. He has to have presents probably earlier than Christmas. He cannot wait till Christmas. He said often by, pretty much now, which is hard because his birthday's coming up as well. It's like, no, I can't wait. It's too much. It's too long. And then he says, you just need to tell me, this is for Christmas, is it on the way? Is the present that I want on the way?
Yeah,
to
show
the
me
house?
the tracking.
Yeah. Is it definitely going to arrive on time? And it's not like it's got lost, because I think there was one year where something got lost in the Amazon, whatever. And the other thing is, don't tell me if it's in the house. Because if it's in the house and it's just out of reach, the dopamine hell of that, I need to get that thing. And I could just ask you for it over and 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 over again.
Take the freaking thing.
You literally, and that's probably why we end up doing Christmas like a month early, because like, just take the bloody present.
Yes.
So we've got that. But before he believed in the magic of Christmas, when he was really young, we obviously have this issue with sleep, and like falling asleep is really hard. So the night before Christmas, he came up to me and he just went, Mum, it's just really creepy, the idea of a man coming into your house and going through your things and leaving something for you and then leaving. He's like, why is nobody doing something about this?
He was freaking out.
Neighbourhood watch or like the police.
I mean, if you've got autistic kids that are on high alert for safety, which mine are, they're in full fight, flight or freeze all the time. So their nervous system is on, oh my God, I'm going to die any minute. That is their natural state. So they're like, a man with a beard who we don't know.
I know, he's going to everyone else's house.
And he's coming down a chimney. We don't even have a chimney.
No, we don't have a chimney.
And then when they move past that phase of the, like, they understand the reality of it, then it's like, what's happening in my house is like, just nothing's real then. I mean, that's not real. It's just stupid.
Fake,
they just feel like a stupid holiday, which it is.
Yeah.
And that really annoys them, because what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point?
What is the point of it?
Because it's that beautiful thinking of that neurodivergent brain, which is just like, this is bullshit.
I know. Do you know, that's when I wish that I had a formal religion. You know that I've had my own spiritual awakening. But I do like the idea of, it would be nice to have some kind of ceremony.
To believe in something.
Some kind of like, practice that you do that reminds you of history and it represents something.
We could have Festival of the Lights, like the Diwali or whatever, you know what I mean?
Something.
Like, we just don't have anything really.
I know. That's just so miserable.
Yeah.
And fair enough. They're like, why? And you're like, I don't know. Yeah. Also, I hate it.
And you got to hang out with Auntie Joan, like.
And you're going to enjoy it.
Oh my God.
We will all be very happy.
Yeah. And then Christmas, of course, depending on what kind of school your kids go to, my children's school finishes on around the 9th of December. right? But let's say for most families
20th.
or many families, it's around the 20th. And then they don't go back to school till the 31st of January.
Yeah, I find that crazy here that it's like you've got a really stressful family holiday, then we're going to tag on like 2 months with your children
with
afterwards.
no structure, and you're still working.
Yeah.
And like actually, every time I think about any school holidays coming up, which is about halfway through the term, my eye starts twitching. I just start feeling sick. And thankfully now my work is much more flexible, so it doesn't make me so anxious. But for most of my career, you get 4 weeks off a year, and then you've got these, I don't know, is it like 20 weeks of school holidays in total, like throughout the term, something like that?
I mean, I think every family, whether they're spicy or not, they hate.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for working parents
No,
to have
it doesn't
school
work.
holidays.
And I think when my kids were littler, we used to send them to the school holiday program at school. So same venue, and but that didn't last long because it's pretty.
Now when you think back to that, that's so horrible.
It's horrible.
Isn't it?
My kids, I have a photo of my kids. My eldest at the time was about 9 or something, and he found a pair of those police sunglasses, you know, like that look like police sunglasses, and then one of them found a toy gun, who knows where from. And they said to me, "You're
what
under
kind
arrest."
Of school is this?
Yeah, no, this is at home. You're under arrest.
What kind of home is it?
You're under arrest. I said, why? I said, because you're sending us to school holiday program, and that's child abuse.
Yeah.
Got a point.
And I thought,
yeah, because they need a break too, but their break is not going to give you a break.
And when you send them there when they're little, they do like macrame something and blow bubbles. So it sort of works when they're little, but also you're sending them back to school where I thought it was school holidays and you're sending me back to school. But for a while that worked in terms of being able to send, super expensive.
Yeah.
But when you've got a child who their behaviour is not what is expected, then you've got the same problems, whether they're at school or at holiday program, you're getting the phone call about, you know, whatever's happened.
And then did you go through the grandparent phase and then we burnt them out? Because that's what happened with us. We were like,
the burnt out grandparent.
Yeah, for a day or two here and there. But then the scheduling of that, right? So I would get the schedule out, and every term holidays it would be like 2 weeks and 2 days or whatever it was, and then you had to have a plan for every day. So Mondays and Wednesdays on week one they're going to go to the holiday program, and then grandparents will do Tuesday, but they can't. They'd have to leave at 2 because they've got something on. So then so that ridiculous amount of scheduling to fill up those hours,
and then each of those events that you're putting them in, you're also getting feedback from all those individual people about how much of an asshole your kid is or whatever. Like that is just exhausting.
And then they don't want to go.
No.
So you're like, what is this insanity?
We've never been able to do a holiday club or anything. Like, and I remember getting really jealous. I used to get so jealous.
I would be
people like, are you as little Johnny going to go and do tennis camp this week? And I'm like, no. Like, I'd love him to, but I mean, he did. That was, I say tennis because that was the only one we've ever tried in 10 years. And we got a call within 10 minutes. And they were like, he's saying this is bullshit. Can he leave? And he was like,
it is, it's hot as well. And then like, and so then there's, how do you fill the time? And then, and I'm really guilty of this. I have taken responsibility of that every year since the beginning of time.
Yeah. So let's think about that, how mums...
The mental load of that.
Mums have to plan holidays and all that.
I just realised when you said that.
Mental load.
You what?
I have as well.
Yeah,
I just realised.
and you don't even realise that you're doing it. And then, and then you're shitty and you're stressed and, you know, you're trying to get to work and it's hot. And especially in Melbourne, it gets really hot in summer, so it could be like 35 degrees. My children don't cope in the heat. Certainly one of them really badly doesn't cope, nor do I, actually, really. But it's so long. And the only good thing when I used to go into the office to work is that no one was around in January. So it actually was quite relaxing once you got them to wherever, because it was pretty chill. But that happens, it comes up every 10 weeks. There's blocks of school holidays, and then you get to the end of the year and it's this super long break. You know, in the US when kids get sent away to camp for like 6 weeks? Yes. Imagine. Well, that's also because I think they only get 2 weeks paid holiday a year or something ridiculous. But I think that is one of these quiet things that we carry around that really does separate us from a lot of families who either, in this case, it does depend if you're both working couple, but that other families either have someone at home so that, you know, I don't know, what do they do with the kids every day? Who knows? But if you're both working, the question about grandparents, my parents, I remember the day that I asked my parents to have my children and my mum looked at me, and my mum's amazing, but she looked at me and she said, all of them. And in that moment, the penny dropped and I was like, oh my God, I can't give all of my 3 children to anyone because it's so intense, and the dynamics and, you know, the demands and the difficulty of it. It's probably when they were younger, there was more of that. But as they got older.
No one really sort of explains either that you probably need someone who's got specialist training to be looking after your children. And that's really expensive.
Well, NDIS.
Really hard to find.
Yeah. And that actually, you know, that's actually when I initially came up with the idea of Takes a Village, which was when I could not find babysitters that could manage my kids. And often it was in those blocks of time in the school holidays where you need to find people who can manage them all day. That's really hard, the whole all day.
When we struggle to manage them all day.
We can't, of course.
Yeah.
And
also know what to do if, you know, because you've got all the ups and downs within that. If there's a meltdown, what do they do?
That.
I mean, you need proper training. You know, it's not just a babysitter off Gumtree or whatever.
Yeah, totally. And it took me years to work that out. And when I worked that out and I realised there were agencies, and there's more and more now because NDIS is, you know, creating a lot of work. But when you realise that you do need that specialised care, and then of course it's dependent on if you can access it through NDIS because it's expensive. But then also there are special holiday programs which can be better.
It would be great if we could put some resources on the end of this, because I know there's also like a NDIS funded camp that families can go on. So it's not just kids, because obviously my child would not go on a camp by himself. But I know families that go, and like the parents get to go. They get looked after, the parents.
Yes.
So they get given like spa treatments and lovely food, and then the kids get activities with people who are trained and like-minded and meet other kids.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to add as well, is that sometimes like when we have a holiday,
it's not a holiday.
It's not a holiday. So we're like, you know, we're talking about how do we get care for them when we're working, and then the idea that you could go on a holiday with them but you are also looked after is beautiful, because the only way that I have felt like when we've been in the thick of it that I've been able to have a holiday during this time is to go away with other neurodivergent kids and families.
Or just escape and go with the mum, with each other. Like
with each other. But I meant as a family, because it's just, there was I just felt like there was a lot of judgment, and, you know, friends' kids were doing nippers and doing all these kind of amazing things, and we were having meltdowns, and, you know, and it just wasn't.
It's a really good point.
It wasn't something that I felt like I could relax.
I used to find that quite sad too, that you can't, like, you know, when you've got like, you know, friends going, I'll pick them up from the camp and we'll, you know, from the club, and then I'll take them for dinner and we'll do that. And you're like, I wish I could do that with my kids. Like, you know, it's getting a bit easier with mine now, but only because we're on medication and we've done lots of therapy, but, you know, it could change again. But I used to get very sad about that. I would be like, why can't, I just want someone else to pick them up and go off and take them for a pizza and then bring them back. And there's not that many people who can do it. And that makes you kind of, a bit panicked and be a bit sad for them that they don't get that experience.
And that's all the things, if you know, flick through a very mainstream magazine, for example, or something, and it says, you know, take time for yourself as a mother, as parents, spend time with your partner. That is so hard.
It's like, go fuck yourself.
You know, because you can't, because mostly the reason that people can do that is for that very thing, you know, and that's where the idea of your village, right? We do it for each other occasionally. A bit harder when you don't live as close, but when you can find families that you can lean on like that.
It's like gold, honestly. It's golden. It's gold. And also that anything can go down. I mean, I remember coming around here and when we first moved and we had all the kids, and I was like, my kids were saying this, drop the C-bomb quite a few times. It was chaos, and I looked at you and you're just totally fine, and I thought I found my people.
And it never flinches.
No flinching.
It takes a lot. But even
the day you flinch, I'm going to be so scared.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
Too. But going away with other families as well.
That's
we never do. We just don't. We can't even with my own inner family, we can't go away with other people because it's too hard for everyone. It's too hard for us, because when you go away with another family, you have to kind of work out some kind of agreed
routine.
Even if you don't speak about it, a routine, a sort of expectations around how things are going to go, and then what your kids are allowed to do versus what other kids are allowed. All of that stuff probably takes a bit of negotiation with a group of families that can adapt to that. But our families, it has to be the way that our kids need it, and if there's any kind of shift to that, we all suffer, and it's not fun.
And there's nothing more confronting than going alongside a neurotypical family day-to-day life with your family and seeing the difference of how things have to be.
I was going to say the most grieving that I've done is around those moments.
Me too.
That has been some deep deep crying and deep grief.
Because
when
I
you
think that
compare your
Because it's quite rare. Most of the time we're in our own bubbles, and I'm like, well, everyone's family like this, right? And then you realise, you know, maybe if you do go on holiday or you have a weekend with someone and you're like, oh my God. Like,
and because it's seeing how life could have been, right? There's one element of that. And there's one about the sadness that you can't have that time together with your friends that you love, that you probably might have anticipated when you were younger. Oh, we'll have our families together, we'll have kids together, it'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
And then there's also the shame and the disappointment, and sometimes the disappointment of how your friends might be reacting.
I was going to say, I would add that fourth element is definitely that
that's awful.
people's
I find that
reaction,
really hard.
people's responses is really
hard.
And it's not their fault. Like, everyone's trying their best, but when you don't have enough information and you generally are in a group of people who all kind of live and operate the same way as you, then you see this other thing and you're like, oh no, stop fussing, or you're being too soft, or be harder, or whatever. And when that happens with your friends who you dearly love, there's a little crack that happens there, and it's not. It's just because life is so confusing and complicated, but that's really sad, and you're exhausted, and you're let down by the hope that maybe this time it'll be okay, and it's the same. That's a massive kind of wave of emotion. And I do also agree, like, if I think about the times when I've been most devastated, it was when we first got the diagnosis and I started to read about it, and I just cried hot tears for the sadness of the difficult life ahead, even though I didn't know what it was. But it was also in those times when things have gone they've been quite confronting with friends that you have. In the moment, you feel let down by them. It's not quite that simple.
You feel judged without them meaning.
We don't mean to. And that is deep sadness. Deep. Because it's sort of basically saying, you need to isolate.
And that's awful.
Which is what happens.
That's almost the last thing we need, is to be isolated.
It is the last thing.
And that's why we're doing this whole bloody podcast, right? Because it's like the last thing we need is to feel alone and no one to talk to. And feeling like we're out on a limb by ourselves.
Do you know, my neighbour, who's a beautiful psychologist and very knowledgeable, she said, through psychology school and masters, you never really learn about neurodivergency, really. So all of what she's learned is through being our neighbours. And she said she caught up with a really old friend the other day, like they hadn't seen each other for 10 years or something, and the friends started talking about her son who's neurodivergent, and she was getting a bit emotional, and my neighbour just leant over and said, I understand.
Oh, I love that.
I understand. You can say as much as you want to me or as little as you want, but I understand. And she said the friend was like, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed by that level of support that I don't have to justify, explain, apologise, all of the emotions that you feel. It's like, you're the first person who said that to me. Everyone else does a weird face.
Look at you in shock. And then you have to deal with their shock.
That's why people listening to this should be sending this podcast to any of those families that they might be visiting over the Christmas period and go, please just listen to this. This is what this is our life. Because you want people to be, educated so that I've got friends who haven't got any kind of neurodivergence in their family, but they've listened to the podcast or they've heard, and it really helps. It really does, because if you get an understanding, then of course, I mean, even when we make plans, it's like, so cool, like, I'm going to go and we're going to do this at the weekend and and then we always say to each other, or we might not do any of those things. None of that will happen. And if you get a friend who gets it, often they'll say that. They're like, it'll be great if we could do this, this, and this. And instead of going, cool, I've set it in stone in biro in the diary, they go, or you might be so tired that we do nothing, or I might have to come to you, or don't worry if you have to change it, and that's all you need.
And I was about to say, we have trained our friends. I don't know that it's quite that direct, but I reckon there's quite a lot of our friends in the friendship group that we share, which some of them do that so well. They're like, no pressure, I can come to you, we can do it or not do it, you can cancel at any time. I'd love to see, but it doesn't matter. A really kind of, that is worth gold. And you're right, Char, like, if other people can, and that is also part of the intention of this, not just to tell the story that many people share who live in this community or village, but for those who live next door, right? And for those who live across the road, or their cousin. Most people we know someone. And in fact, I remember quite early on, one of our friends contacted me and said, I'm having trouble with one of our other friends who has been pulling away and being an isolate, I can't maintain the friendship because of their life with their neurodivergent kid. Can you help me? What do I need to do? What do I need to know? Like, so she reached out to me saying, how do I be a good friend to this? What do I do to make it better? So I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. Even on a base level, what do they want for Christmas lunch? Plain pasta with can you not let anything touch it?
Yeah, but also bring your own Christmas lunch, right? Just bring it in your own.
I'm bringing plain pasta.
Bring 5 ice lollies if that's what they want.
Tomato sauce.
You know, I never thought of that. I think because we're such a foodie family, I'm just bringing some plain pasta.
Bring some plain pasta.
Some tomato sauce on it.
Muesli bars.
Frankfurters.
Sausage rolls.
Let's get all the safe foods.
Chicken nuggets.
Safe foods. That's a whole episode itself.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, I feel a bit...
I feel cathartic.
You feel better? I feel a bit stressed.
We've vomited all that out.
No, I feel like a little like my November stress. I just was able to...
Oh my God, that's amazing. I feel like mine's just been... The door's just been opened to what's ahead, which is fine.
Because you weren't there yet. I'm already there.
I wasn't there yet. But I think, and that's the other thing that I found, and my ADHD brain needs this because I come up with all these strategies. I think of all these good solutions. Even I find a good outfit, the good combination of my wardrobe, and then it's gone. Completely forgotten. Have to start again. So talking and remembering, even the ones that they come out for me when you're talking to remember those strategies or those tactics to almost like put your armor on before you go into those things. And I think also what's really important is to deeply remind yourself that you can only do what you can do and you're doing your best. But if people are let down because you can't meet their expectations, that's their problem.
And
not
that's
yours.
their problem. But maybe for some of you, we front load it with Auntie Joan that,
front load it. We may or may not.
We may or may not. We may not all
come. We may not come on time. It's not because
we will say your prawns are disgusting or whatever.
Exactly. They may throw the prawns across the room into the fireplace that doesn't have a chimney.
Yeah.
Front loading it's really good too, and with real courage, but also self-love that you can say. Because I've had to say to my family, it's not because I don't want to have family events. It's not because I don't value the effort you've put in. I absolutely do. But if I can't show up in a way that you think represents that, please know that I love your effort. I'm grateful, but I don't know what's going to happen. If we don't show up, if we don't show up in a way that doesn't fit, like I'm not even going to apologise because you don't have to apologise.
That's like a script.
Yeah.
Like that is so good because you don't always think to say that. We say it when maybe knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah,
like
or
for
we're
me,
stressed.
Or we're stressed and then I'll go, I knew this wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But you know what's great is your kids will feel that massive radical acceptance of who they are.
Yeah.
And be like, my mum and my dad or whoever is their primary carer gets me.
Yeah.
They understand my needs
and
they've got my back.
Yeah.
So then your Christmas will probably be a lot better, a lot more stress-free because they can look at you and you've got it. You've got them covered. And I think that's important.
Yeah, it is. But there's definitely still that work in your own heart and soul to say, because in many ways, the way that we show up is seen to be respectful. It's seen to be considerate of whatever, grateful for the situation. If you can say, I respect, I'm grateful, I can see the work you've done, it's amazing. If I can't show up, that doesn't mean that I don't feel those things, but I'm also letting you know that if I can't do it or if it doesn't go well, if we have to bolt out the door, that's just who we are. Not I'm sorry. Because you don't have to be sorry. I think that's really, really relieves the pressure when you walk in thinking, will I take my shoes off? Probably not, because they're probably about to leave, right? But everyone else can go, cool, no worries, got it. Thank you for coming. Thanks for the effort. Go.
That's a good soundbite at the end. We could just say, all we want for Christmas is not to say sorry.
I think so. Don't say sorry. You're doing your best. And we've got you.
We've got your back.
Yeah. Thanks, loves.
Thank you.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year and Happy Hanukkah and Diwali lights, whatever, all the
this
things.
weekend,
Bye.